It started at Sunday dinner, the usual family gathering at Mom and Dad's place. Everyone was there. Sister and her husband Brad, Uncle Rick, Aunt Carol, cousins. I'd been quiet most of the evening, just listening, trying to keep the peace. Then, "So everyone's confirmed for the lake house next month except you," she said, looking directly at me. "Are you coming or not?" I was mid-bite, swallowed, set down my fork. "I haven't decided yet." "Of course you haven't," she muttered into her wine glass. The table shifted. That subtle change when tension enters a room. Everyone felt it. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. She put down her glass. Hard. Wine sloshed. "It means you always do this. Make everything about you. Create drama. Ruin plans." I just said I haven't decided. "Because you're toxic," she said. Louder now. "You're toxic to this family." The word hung in the air. Toxic. I looked at Dad, sitting at the head of the table, waiting for him to say something. Defend me. Tell her that was too far. He didn't. He just nodded. Slowly. Like he'd been thinking it for a while and Sister had finally said it out loud. "Maybe it's better if you disappear for a while," Dad said quietly. I stared at him. "What?" "Take some space, from all of us. I think we all need a break from each other." "A break from me, you mean?" He didn't deny it. Sister leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, satisfied, like she'd won something. Uncle Rick cleared his throat but said nothing. Aunt Carol studied her plate like it contained the secrets of the universe. Brad, Sister's husband, had his phone out, probably texting someone about the drama unfolding 2 feet away. Mom was in the kitchen, putting away leftovers, clanking dishes. She'd heard everything but didn't come out. I looked around the table, waiting for someone to disagree. To say, "That's harsh," or "Let's talk about this." Nothing. Just silence and nodding heads. "Okay," I said. Sister blinked. "Okay?" "Yeah, okay. I'll disappear." I stood up, grabbed my keys from the counter, my jacket from the hook by the door. "Where are you going?" Mom called from the kitchen. Finally speaking. "Where Dad wants me to go. Away." "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being obedient. You all want me gone, so I'm going." Sister rolled her eyes. "See? This. This is exactly what I'm talking about." I stopped at the door, looked back at her. "What am I doing exactly?" "Making a scene, acting like a victim." "I'm leaving, quietly, like you asked." "You're guilting us?" "I'm literally doing what you told me to do." Dad sighed. Heavy, tired. "Just go. We'll talk when everyone's calmed down." "Sure, Dad. We'll talk." We both knew we wouldn't. I walked out. No goodbye, no explanation, no last words. Just gone. I drove home on autopilot. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, mind completely blank. My apartment was quiet, cold. I'd forgotten to turn on the heat before I left. I stood in my living room for 10 minutes. Just stood there, processing. Toxic. The word kept echoing. Not difficult, not opinionated, not independent. Toxic. Like I was poison. Like my presence made people sick. I thought about all the Sunday dinners, all the times I'd shown up, helped, participated, been there. When Dad's business started failing 3 years ago, who co-signed his refinance loan? Me. When Sister needed someone to watch her kids last year so she could go to that concert? Me. When Uncle Rick needed help moving his furniture? Me. When Mom's car broke down on the highway at 11 p.m.? Me. But I was toxic. I walked to my bedroom, pulled out my duffel bag, started packing, clothes, toiletries, laptop, chargers. My phone buzzed. "Sister. Don't be childish. Come back and finish dinner." I put the phone face down, kept packing. It buzzed again. Mom this time. "Honey, let's talk about this tomorrow when we're all less emotional." Less emotional. Like I was the one who'd exploded. like I was the one who'd called someone toxic at a family dinner. I finished packing, grabbed my keys, locked my apartment. Then I drove. Out of the city, away from the suburbs, onto the highway heading north. My friend Jake had a cabin 3 hours away. He'd given me the code to the lockbox last year. Use it whenever you need to get away, he'd said. I'd never needed to before. Now I did. The drive was dark, empty highways, rest stops with flickering lights, gas stations where I was the only customer. I arrived at 11 p.m. The cabin was exactly as Jake described it. Small, wooden, quiet, middle of nowhere. I unlocked the door, turned on the lights, set my bag on the couch. Then I pulled out my phone. 17 new messages, 6 missed calls, all from the last hour. Sister, you're being ridiculous. Mom, please call me. Uncle Rick, what happened? Your mom's upset. Brad, dude, just apologize and move on. Apologize? For what? For being called toxic? For leaving when told to disappear? I scrolled through them all. Reading. Not responding. The last one was from Dad. Take your time. We'll figure this out. Figure what out? How to uncall me toxic. How to untell me to disappear. I held my phone, thinking. They wanted me to disappear, so I would. Completely. I turned off my phone, held down the power button until the screen went black. Then I put it in the duffel bag, zipped it up, and walked away. The cabin had books, a TV with no cable, a fireplace, basic kitchen supplies. Everything I needed to exist without existing. I made coffee, sat on the porch, watched the trees sway in the darkness. For the first time in hours, I felt calm. No messages demanding responses, no guilt trips, no performative family unity. Just silence. They'd told me I was toxic to the family. Fine. Let's see how the family does without the toxin. The first day was strange. I kept reaching for my phone out of habit, checking notifications that weren't there. By the second day, the reflex faded. I read, walked through the woods, made simple meals, slept without setting alarms, no schedule, no obligations, no family. It felt like holding my breath underwater, uncomfortable at first, then peaceful, then necessary. On the third day, I thought about what Sister had said. You make everything about you, create drama, ruin plans. What had I actually done? I'd said I hadn't decided about the cabin trip. That was it. That was the crime. Not making a decision fast enough. And before that? I'd questioned Uncle Rick's investment advice at Thanksgiving, told him his crypto scheme sounded sketchy. I disagreed with Dad about his business partner. Said the guy seemed unreliable. I'd suggested Sister get a second opinion before her surgery. The first doctor's diagnosis seemed rushed. That was my pattern. Questioning, suggesting alternatives, not just going along. And apparently that made me toxic. I sat with that realization for hours. The family didn't want discussion. They wanted agreement. They didn't want honesty. They wanted compliance. And when I couldn't give them that, I became the problem. Day 4, day 5, day 6. The cabin became normal. Routine. My phone stayed off. My mind stayed quiet. I wondered if they were worried, if they'd tried to reach me, if they even noticed I was really gone. Probably not. Probably they were relieved. One less difficult person at Sunday dinner. One less voice questioning their decisions. Day 7. I woke up early, made coffee, sat on the porch watching the sunrise. And I realized something. I didn't miss them. Not the dinners, not the forced conversations, not the constant feeling of walking on eggshells. I missed the idea of family, the concept, what it was supposed to be. But the reality, the actual people, I didn't miss that at all. That hurt more than the toxic comment. The realization that I'd been holding on to something that didn't actually exist. Day 8, day 9, day 10. I started thinking about what came next. I couldn't stay in Jake's cabin forever. But I also couldn't go back to Sunday dinners, to pretending, to being the family punching bag. Something had to change. On day 11, I decided. Time to turn the phone back on. Face whatever was waiting. Not because I wanted to reconcile, but because I needed to know what I was dealing with. I pulled the phone out of my bag, held the power button. The screen lit up. Apple logo. Loading. Then the notification started. 1, 5, 10, 20. They kept coming. Voicemails, texts, missed calls, emails. The phone buzzed for 3 solid minutes, downloading everything I'd missed. When it finally stopped, I looked at the numbers. 14 voicemails, 32 text messages, 19 missed calls, all from the last 3 days. Not the first week. The last 3 days. I frowned, opened the voicemails. The first one was from 8 days ago. Mom. Honey, we're worried. Call us when you get this. Worried. Sure. The second one. Also Mom. Day 9. Okay, this isn't funny anymore. Where are you? Not funny. Like I was playing a prank. The third. Uncle Rick. Day 9. Hey, call me when you get this. It's important. Important. What was important? Fourth voicemail. Dad. Day 10. Son, please, we need to talk. It's about the house. The house. I sat up straighter. Fifth voicemail. Sister. Day 10. This isn't a game. Pick up your phone. We need you. We need you. Not we're sorry. Not we were wrong. We need you. I scrolled through the texts. Scanning. Looking for context. Uncle Rick, day 9. Call me ASAP. Mom, day 9. Please answer. This is urgent. Sister, day 10. Stop ignoring us. Dad, day 10. We're in trouble. Need to talk. Then the most recent one, from Uncle Rick, 2 hours ago. Bank foreclosing on family house. Only you're on the deed. We're losing everything. Call me. I read it 3 times. Bank foreclosing. Family house. Only you're on the deed. And then I remembered. 5 years ago. Dad's business had taken a major hit. Lost a big client. Cash flow dried up. He'd needed to refinance the house to stay afloat. But his credit was trashed. Business loans. Maxed cards. Late payments. No bank would touch him. He'd asked me to co-sign, put my name on the deed alongside his, help him get the refinance through. I'd hesitated. I was only 28, just starting my career. Didn't want that kind of responsibility. But he'd promised. Swore up and down. Just a formality, just to get the loan. You won't have to pay anything. I've got it covered. And I'd believed him. Signed the papers, added my name to the deed, helped him get the refinance, then forgot about it. 5 years, no problems, no missed payments. I'd assumed everything was fine. Apparently not. I stared at Uncle Rick's text. They were losing the house I was legally responsible for. The house I'd co-signed on because Dad asked me to help family. And now they needed me to save it. The same people who'd called me toxic 11 days ago. I started laughing. Not happy laughter. The kind that happens when irony hits so hard you can't process it any other way. They'd told me to disappear. So I did. And while I was gone, their world fell apart. And now they needed the toxic family member to save them. I sat there on Jake's cabin porch, phone in hand, watching the messages pile up. And I realized something. I had all the power. For the first time in my entire relationship with this family, I was the one they needed, not the other way around. The question was, what was I going to do with it? I called Uncle Rick. He picked up on the first ring. Finally, he said, where the hell have you been? You told me to disappear. I did. This isn't the time for, what's going on with the house? He sighed. Heavy. Exhausted. Your dad, he missed 3 mortgage payments. Bank sent a foreclosure notice last week. They're moving forward unless we can sort this out. Why didn't he call me sooner? He tried. You weren't answering. I've been gone 11 days. He missed 3 payments. That's 3 months, Uncle Rick. Silence on the line. He didn't want to bother you. Uncle Rick said quietly. I almost laughed. Didn't want to bother me, but had no problem telling me to disappear at Sunday dinner. Look, I get that you're upset. I'm not upset. I'm confused. What exactly do you need from me? Your signature, to refinance, or sell, or something. But you're on the deed. Nothing can happen without you. The bank won't even talk to us. They keep saying they need the cosigner. Where's Dad? At the house. He's not doing great. And Mom? Same. They're both pretty shaken up. I sat there on the cabin porch, phone pressed to my ear, watching the trees sway. I'll think about it, I said. Think about it? Uncle Rick's voice shot up. They're foreclosing in 2 weeks. There's nothing to think about. Then you've got 2 weeks to figure out how to talk to me without calling me toxic. I hung up. The phone immediately started ringing again. Uncle Rick. I declined. It rang again. Sister. I let it go to voicemail. Again. Mom. Voicemail. Dad. Voicemail. The calls kept coming, one after another. Like they'd coordinated. Probably had a group chat going. Keep calling him. He'll answer eventually. I turned on Do Not Disturb. Let them all pile up. Then I opened the texts that had come in while I was talking to Uncle Rick. Sister. You're really going to let them lose the house because your feelings are hurt? Mom. Please. We made a mistake. Just come home. Dad. I'm sorry for what I said. Please. Help us. Aunt Carol. Your parents need you. Don't be selfish. Brad. Dude, seriously, be the bigger person. I read through them all, each one more desperate than the last. But none of them actually apologized for calling me toxic, for telling me to disappear. Just, we made a mistake. We need you. Please help. Not, we were wrong about you. Not, you're not toxic. Not, we shouldn't have said that. Just, we need something from you, so come back. I put the phone down, walked inside, made coffee, stood at the window watching the forest. They were losing their house, the house I'd grown up in, the house where I'd learned to ride a bike in the driveway, where I'd had birthday parties, where Christmas mornings happened, 30 years of memories, about to be foreclosed on, and I was the only one who could stop it. The power felt strange, foreign. I'd never had power in this family. I was always the one asking for approval, trying to fit in, hoping they'd see me as valuable. Now they needed me, and I didn't know what to do with that. I spent the rest of the day thinking. By evening, I'd made a decision. Not because I'd forgiven them, not because I wanted to rebuild the relationship, but because I wanted to see their faces. I wanted to look them in the eye and watch them realize that the person they'd called toxic was the only thing standing between them and losing everything. I packed my bag, cleaned up the cabin, locked the door. Then I drove back. The drive took 3 hours. I played music loud. Didn't think too much. Just drove. I arrived at my apartment around 9 p.m., unpacked, showered, slept. The next morning, I texted Uncle Rick. I'll come by the house today, 2 p.m. He responded immediately. Thank you, they'll be so relieved. I didn't respond to that. At 1:45 p.m., I pulled up to my parents' house. 2 cars in the driveway, Mom's sedan, Dad's truck, and Uncle Rick's SUV parked on the street. I sat in my car for 5 minutes, just breathing. Then I got out, walked to the front door, knocked. Uncle Rick opened it. Relief flooded his face. Thank God. Come in. They're in the kitchen. I walked in. The house looked the same. Same furniture, same photos on the walls, same smell of Mom's candles. But it felt different, heavier. I walked into the kitchen. Mom and Dad were sitting at the table, surrounded by papers, bank notices, legal documents, foreclosure warnings. They looked up when I walked in. Relief. Immediate, overwhelming relief. Thank God, Mom said. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Dad stood up, started to say something, stopped. I pulled out a chair, sat down across from them. Tell me what happened, I said. Dad cleared his throat. The business, it's been slow, really slow. Last year was rough. This year's worse. I tried to keep up with the payments, but I couldn't. I missed one, then two, then three. I kept thinking I'd catch up, that I'd land a big contract, turn it around. But you didn't. No. When did you get the foreclosure notice? 2 weeks ago. And you didn't call me. I thought I could handle it. I called the bank, tried to work something out. They said I needed the co-signer. That's when I started calling you. That was 3 days ago. Yes? You had 2 weeks, Dad. You waited 11 days before trying to reach me. He looked down. I know. Why? I didn't want to bother you. After what happened at dinner, I thought you needed space. Space, I repeated. You told me to disappear. You agreed when Sister called me toxic. You said the family needed a break from me. And now you're calling it space? Mom reached across the table. I pulled my hand back before she could touch it. We didn't mean it like that, she said. We were frustrated. You'd been difficult lately. Difficult how? She exchanged a glance with Dad. You question everything. You don't just go along with plans. You make people uncomfortable. I'm difficult because I have opinions? You're difficult because you won't just let things be, Dad said. Every family gathering, you're questioning something, disagreeing with someone, creating tension. Like when I told Uncle Rick his crypto scheme sounded like a scam? He was just trying to help. He lost $12,000, Dad. It was a scam. I was right. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is, you make everything harder. You can't just accept things. You have to analyze, question, push back. I leaned back in my chair. So I'm toxic because I think for myself. You're toxic because you make family gatherings stressful, Sister said. I turned. She was standing in the doorway, arms crossed. Same satisfied expression from the dinner. When did you get here? I've been here the whole time, upstairs. Of course you have. She walked into the kitchen, stood next to Mom. United front. Are you going to help them or not? She asked. I haven't decided yet. Haven't decided? They're losing their house. The house I co-signed for. The house I'm legally responsible for. The house that's about to tank my credit if it forecloses. So you're only helping because of your credit? I'm considering helping despite the fact that you called me toxic and told me to disappear. I didn't mean, yes you did. You meant every word. You've been thinking it for years. You just finally said it out loud. She opened her mouth, closed it. No response. I turned back to Dad. What are the options? He shuffled through the papers. Refinance. If we can get better terms, lower the payment. Or sell. Get out before foreclosure hits. But either way, we need your signature, your approval. The bank won't move forward without you. How much do you owe? $250,000. We refinanced for 305 years ago, paid down some of it. And you need how much to catch up? About $15,000 to cover the missed payments and fees. Do you have it? No. Do you have any way to get it? He looked at Mom. Mom looked at Sister. Sister looked at the floor. We were hoping, maybe you could, Mom started. Could what? Help us, with the payments, just until we get back on our feet. I stared at her. You want me to give you $15,000? It's not giving, it's helping. We'd pay you back. Like Dad paid back the mortgage he promised he'd handle himself? Silence. I co-signed because you swore I wouldn't have to pay anything, that it was just a formality, that you had it covered. And now you want me to cover $15,000 on top of that? We don't have anyone else to ask, Dad said quietly. What about Sister? She's here. She's part of this family. Why isn't she helping? Sister's face went red. I have my own expenses, my own life. I can't just, but I can. You make more than I do. I make $68,000 a year, Sister. I'm not rich. I have student loans, rent, car payments, bills. But you're single. You don't have kids. You have more flexibility. So because I'm single, I should bankroll your parents' mortgage? They're your parents too. Are they? Because the last time I checked, I was toxic. I was the problem. I was the one who needed to disappear. She didn't respond. I looked at Uncle Rick. He'd been standing by the sink the whole time. Silent. What about you? I asked. You're here mediating, playing family counselor? Why aren't you helping? I've already loaned your dad $30,000 over the past 2 years, he said. I don't have anything left to give. 30,000. And Dad still couldn't make the mortgage. I looked at the papers spread across the table. Foreclosure notices, bank statements, past due warnings. This wasn't a temporary problem. This was a pattern. Dad's business was failing, had been failing for years, and he'd been using the house as a safety net, refinancing, borrowing, pushing the problem down the road, and now the road had ended. I'll sign the papers, I said. Relief washed over all of them. Mom actually started crying. Thank you, but I'm not doing it for you. Dad stopped. What? I'm doing it so this house doesn't ruin my credit, so I don't have a foreclosure on my record, so I can move on with my life without this hanging over me. But I'm not doing it to save your house. I'm doing it to protect myself. That's fine. Whatever reason. We just need your signature. And after this, I'm done. Fully. No more Sunday dinners, no more family gatherings, no more co-signing anything ever again. No more being the family ATM when you run out of options. You're cutting us off? Sister asked. You cut me off first. You just didn't realize you'd need me later. Mom was shaking her head. We didn't cut you off. We just needed a break. You called me toxic, Mom. You stood in the kitchen while Dad told me to disappear and you didn't say a word. You let it happen. You agreed with it. And now you're pretending it was just needing a break? She didn't respond. I stood up. Get me the refinance paperwork. I'll sign whatever needs to be signed. I'll meet with the bank. I'll do what has to be done. But after that, I'm out. I'm done being the person you only call when you need something. That's not fair, Dad said. We're your family. Family doesn't call each other toxic. Family doesn't tell each other to disappear. You don't get to do that and then act surprised when I take you seriously. We were angry. You were honest. Maybe for the first time. And I'm choosing to believe you. You think I'm toxic? Fine. I'll remove the toxin. Permanently. Uncle Rick stepped forward. Look, everyone said things they didn't mean. Let's just move forward. I'm moving forward. Without them. You all wanted me gone. Now I will be. The difference is, this time it's my choice, not yours. I grabbed my keys, headed for the door. Wait, Dad called. When can you meet with the bank? Tomorrow. I'll take time off work. We'll get this handled this week. Have the papers ready. And then? And then you'll never have to deal with your toxic son again. Congratulations. You're getting exactly what you wanted. I walked out, got in my car, drove away, and for the first time since Sunday dinner, I felt completely calm. They needed me, but I didn't need them, and that changed everything. That night, I got more texts. Mom, please don't cut us off. We can work through this. Sister, you're being dramatic. Again. Dad, let's talk tomorrow at the bank. Uncle Rick, thank you for helping. I know this is hard. I read through them all, then put my phone on silent. Tomorrow I'd sign papers, deal with banks, fix their mess. But I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it to free myself. From the house. From the debt. From the family that only valued me when they needed something. Some people call that selfish. I called it self-preservation. And for the first time in my life, I was choosing myself. Even if it meant losing everyone else. The bank meetings lasted 2 weeks. Not 1. 2. Because when your parents have spent 3 years living off refinance schemes and magical thinking, it takes time to unwind the mess. Time and someone with a spine, a pen, and the patience to sit through people lying to themselves. That someone, apparently, was me. The first meeting was brutal. I sat across from the loan officer while she pulled up spreadsheets and shook her head like a disappointed math teacher. 3 missed payments, accrued penalties, escalated risk rating. You're lucky your co-signer stepped in when he did. Dad said nothing. He just sat slouched in the chair beside me, like gravity hit him harder than anyone else. Mom kept folding and unfolding a tissue. Uncle Rick was also there, arms crossed, clearly regretting ever being looped into this. I asked questions, took notes, got copies of everything. The numbers weren't just bad. They were worse than I expected. The second meeting was worse. Turns out they hadn't filed taxes properly for 2 years. Income statements were a joke. Half the bank's paperwork had to be redone because Dad couldn't remember where he filed the originals. I bit my tongue so hard that day I tasted blood. By day 4, I was bringing my own stapler, my own folders. I booked the meetings myself because no one else was capable of confirming an appointment without messing it up. And every day someone said, "Thank you," like it was supposed to mean something. On day 6, Sister didn't show. Again. She hadn't come to a single meeting, hadn't emailed anyone, hadn't touched a single form. But I knew she was still in the group chat. Probably watching from the sidelines, waiting for the moment to swoop in and collect emotional credit. Sure enough, that moment came. I was walking to my car after a long session, and there she was, leaning against the passenger side door like a movie villain with a conscience. "Hey," she said. I didn't reply. "I just wanted to say thanks for helping. I mean, you didn't have to." I said nothing. I know I said some things. We all did. But you know how emotions get. I looked at her. "I don't think emotions made you call me toxic. I think that was honesty." Her mouth opened, closed, like a fish flopping in shallow water. "I was upset," she tried again. "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." And with that, I unlocked my car, got in, and shut the door. She stood there with her fake sincere expression until I backed out of the spot and drove off. 2 days later, at another bank branch, we signed the first round of restructuring documents. The notary gave us coffee. Mom tried to smile. Dad looked like a balloon that had been left out in the sun. Uncle Rick pulled me aside while the others reviewed papers. "I know this hasn't been easy," he said, "but you're doing the right thing." I raised an eyebrow. He went on. "Family's family. We fight, we mess up, but we move past it." I stared at him. "You don't get to call someone toxic," I said slowly, "then ask them to save you 2 weeks later." He opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. "You're right," he said. I almost respected that. Almost. Day 11, second to last meeting. Dad forgot his ID. We had to reschedule. I took the afternoon off work for nothing. Mom apologized. I ignored her. That evening, I got a text from Sister. "How's it going with the house? Do they seem better?" I stared at it. I wasn't sure what infuriated me more, the smug detachment or the fact she still wanted updates like this was some live reality show. I didn't respond. The final meeting was 2 days later. Rain fell in sheets. We were in a small office with glass walls and dead plants. The refinance documents were in a thick blue folder. 47 pages. I signed everyone. No one thanked me this time. Dad looked relieved. Mom tried to look grateful. But even she knew that nothing between us was being fixed today. When I finished, the loan officer stood and offered her hand. "Congratulations, the house is safe." I didn't shake her hand. I just nodded. Then turned to the others. "This was the last thing I'll ever do for you." No one replied. The words just sat there, hanging above the table like smoke. I turned and walked out. No hugs, no goodbyes, no parting promises to keep in touch. Just the cold echo of the door clicking behind me. I drove straight home, changed into sweatpants, made tea, and stared out the window for hours. The next morning, I woke up to 5 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Sister, Uncle Rick, Aunt Carol. Texts too. Mom, "Please come by. Let's talk now that things are calmer." Sister, "So dramatic. Just because you signed a few papers doesn't mean you're above everyone." Dad, "I want to talk. Just the two of us." Uncle Rick, "They're trying, you know? They just don't know how." I didn't reply. I put the phone on silent, and I kept it that way, because I didn't fix their house for them. I did it for me, for my credit score, for my sanity, for closure. Because if they were going to drag me into their mess one last time, I was going to make damn sure it was also the last time they ever could. 6 months passed. Quietly. Without ceremony. No surprise visits. No awkward texts. Just absence. And absence, I learned, can be its own kind of peace. I didn't hear from any of them after the refinance. No, thank you. No, sorry. No, hey, how are you holding up after fixing the thing we ruined? The silence wasn't cold. It was calculated. As if their guilt would evaporate if they just never spoke to me again. And honestly, I welcomed it. I moved to a better apartment. Third floor, corner unit, big windows, no mold creeping out of vents like the last place. I bought a real couch, hosted small dinners, made space for the kind of life that didn't need damage control. I focused on my work. Saved. Learned how to cook something other than takeout pasta. Reconnected with people I'd lost touch with. People who asked how I was doing without trying to manipulate the answer. And for the first time in years, I stopped checking my phone hoping to see their names. Then one Tuesday in May, I got a call. The number wasn't saved, but I recognized the area code. I didn't answer. It went to voicemail. I let it sit there for hours before I finally hit play. Hey, it's Dad. His voice was rough. Older. Like he hadn't slept much, or aged a few years in half that time. I know it's been a while, I just been thinking. About Thanksgiving. About everything, really. About what we said. What your sister said. He paused. I won't lie, I was angry. We all were. But I've had time. And I realize now that maybe we pushed too hard. Maybe we didn't see things clearly. I know things got bad. Another pause. Anyway, I was wondering if you'd want to talk. Just you and me. Grab a coffee, maybe. Not to rehash it all, just to, talk. There was no apology, no ownership, just a fog of regret hanging on vague language and a soft ask. He ended with, "Hope you're okay. I miss you. Call me if you want." I didn't. I replayed the message the next morning just to make sure I hadn't missed some deeper meaning. Some clue that maybe, just maybe, he'd finally understood. But no. No mention of calling me toxic. No word about the house. Just a polite nudge back into their world, as if we'd had a small falling out. As if he hadn't all but told me to disappear. And what cut deeper wasn't the call itself, but how numb I felt after. I wasn't angry, not bitter, not boiling with rage. Just done. There's a strange kind of relief in not caring anymore. In not holding your breath, waiting for someone to grow. He wanted connection, but without reckoning, without change. And I'd finally learned that I didn't need people who only reached out when their hands were empty and their pride had been dented. So I blocked the number, went out for a walk. It was one of those rare spring days where everything feels alive, like the city itself took a shower and put on cologne. I passed a family on the lawn, 2 kids throwing a frisbee, parents on folding chairs, someone grilling. The kind of scene they put on postcards for suburbia. 6 months ago, that would have hurt. Would have felt like watching a life I got cut out of. But now, it didn't sting. It was just a thing. Just people. Because I wasn't chasing that version of family anymore. I had friends who actually listened, coworkers who respected me. A home that felt like mine. Not a landmine of passive-aggressive comments and guilt. Sometimes I ate dinner alone. Sometimes I didn't. But every night, I chose peace over pretending. I stopped trying to prove myself to people who measured love in utility. Who only saw my value when the mortgage was on fire. And the biggest plot twist? I didn't miss them. Not really. What I missed was the idea of what they could have been. But ideas don't pay emotional rent. I used to think being disowned would destroy me. That silence meant failure. Now I know silence is just a door closing behind you so you can hear your own voice again. I'm not invisible anymore. Not because they finally saw me, but because I stopped shrinking to be seen. And I don't need a seat at their table. I built my own.